I'm Emma, and I run two businesses. One is called Hunter Paper Co., which I started back in 2014, just after I graduated from uni. We sell luxury letterpress greetings cards and stationery, and I design it and print it all in-house in my studio here in Belfast. So I started selling at markets just after I graduated. I was trying to freelance as an illustrator. And so I thought like I would freelance, and alongside that I would just do markets as a way of like bringing in a little extra income. So I started selling the products that I'd made at uni, or like the pieces really, the prints and things like that. I sold them as art pieces, and then alongside that I just started building a bit of a customer base and reacting to what they were wanting really at markets. So I started selling cards because a lot of people were asking for smaller items. And then if you know my business now, cards has really overtaken everything, and that's the majority of my business. So yeah, that's kind of the beginnings of that. And I thought I would just take you through the progression of my two businesses and how I've brought customers into the ecosystem of those businesses, and then therefore the website as well. So it's really just about the marketing that brings them to the website, and then how they go from there then. So the second business is Hunt and Gather. I set that up during lockdown last year with my husband. And we had kind of had the idea of a shop for a long time, but it never really came to the fore of my focus. So we really want it to be kind of a cohesive brand selling Hunter Paper Co. products, but also selling curated stationery from around the world. So we'll just move on here. So a little bit of my kind of early beginnings. Here's some embarrassing photos from market days back in the day. So when I started, I was definitely doing a lot of markets monthly, and I would gain customers from that. And like after markets, I would find that they would follow me on Instagram, and I would build up my following that way. I would also add little leaflets into their bags when they bought something. And that kind of incentivized them to move over to my website. At the same time, I also set myself up on notinthehighstreet.com and etsy.com. And the traffic from there would kind of naturally come over as they would search for my brand on Google, maybe to see if they could get a better price or just to learn more about my brand, really. So I was naturally gaining those customers from those platforms as well onto my own website. And then just organically on Instagram, I was sharing a lot about what I was doing at the time. I was doing a lot of paper cuts and lino prints, and I think I gained a lot of followers from people who were interested in that and just wanted to learn how to do that themselves, and also were just interested in the craft of it. So from there, then the markets kind of steadily built up, and I kind of reached a turning point where I was working all the time basically on making things that weren't really scalable. So I would take a long time to lino print cards, which is just not a sensible way to grow a business. But at the time I was just growing, and I didn't really know much else. So I'd always been interested in letterpress, and decided at the time that I would just go all in. This is make or break, and I would buy myself a press, which was a huge investment at the time. So it's because of that huge investment, I decided that, this is my chance to really upscale my business, and I would apply for a trade show at the same time and start trying to sell to shops. So I bought the press in around May, June time of the year before the trade show, and booked a trade show for January. And in that time, I really focused on putting together a catalogue and putting together a cohesive collection to sell to trade, and really learning the ins and outs of attending trade shows and marketing to wholesale customers. So at that point, I was trying to shift my website more over to a more professional kind of like at the beginning, it felt really DIY, and it was really just like my Instagram feed, really. So at this stage, I was switching it all over to really present this brand as a professional business, really. So then I went to my first trade show in January 2016, 2017, I think. And and from there, I learned a huge amount about marketing business to business. So it was a completely different type of customer from the retail customers I was meeting at markets and the retail customers that had been coming to my site beforehand. And so, yeah, I had to learn different release schedules. You know, if you're a shop owner, you're going to want to be buying in your Christmas stuff anywhere from March, April onwards. And they usually cut that off around September time. And at the same time, I was learning a lot from peers, a lot of other stand holders who were next to me. There's a lot of downtime at trade shows, so we just talked business pretty much constantly. And I learned a lot about how they run their businesses and how they market to different types of customers, like their own retail customers that are coming to their website, or to the business customers that we were really there for at the time. And then at the same time, I had a huge learning curve on the ins and outs of wholesale. So I had to learn a lot about shipping margins, how to work with those tight margins for wholesale, because you really have to cut things in half to serve a wholesale audience. So next up, I thought I would talk about the hunt and gather side of my business. I'll just go grab my notes here because I've like shuffled on quite a bit. So over the years, I've been going to trade shows now twice a year for quite a few years, and I'd often bring my husband along with me, and like in the downtime, one of us would go off for a walk and we'd see all these amazing brands that were at shows. This is Top Drawer in London in the photo. And we always kind of talked about like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if one day we had a shop that stocked Hunter Paper Co. products and also, you know, all these amazing brands that we were seeing. But it was always kind of like a dream. One day we'll do that. And then towards the end of 2019, start of 2020, I thought, okay, this is the year that I'm actually going to start working towards this. And I definitely thought it was going to be very small steps, you know, do a little pop-up, maybe get a stand at St. George's Market, that sort of thing. And then COVID happened. So we all know what a spanner in the works that's thrown into things. So I kind of started over the Christmas period of 2019, branding and developing the social media for this brand and really setting it up as a new project. And then I had January and February, huge big time for trade shows usually. So I spent a lot of time at those shows just gathering catalogs and kind of thought, you know, we'll get these trade shows over with. They're such a big time commitment. Then I'll focus on hunt and gather after that. And then I literally came home from a trade show and went into lockdown. So yeah, when that happened, we kind of just like had to reassess everything, really focus on what was working for Hunter Paper Co. and just took a step back from that, but then realized that, you know, this pandemic isn't going anywhere. So we're going to focus on just what we can do to grow different parts of the business, and decided to go ahead and launch Hunt and Gather in May. So I am actually quite thankful in a way for lockdown. Obviously, this pandemic has been a huge burden on everybody and it's been horrendous for so many people. But alongside the negatives, it really gave me some good opportunities to look at my business as a whole, really decide what these two brands were and what they were going to be, establish them as two separate revenue streams, and also really work out a plan of how I would market to each of these two businesses, because they are very different. Marketing to wholesale is completely different to marketing to your own retail customers. So yeah, lockdown just gave me that chance to really, you know, sit down and figure out a plan for these two businesses.